From 5 new Isekai and the return of Tensura, all the way to Studio Mappa and its annual announcement show, there's plenty of news to talk about from the last month or so. So, starting with those 5 new Isekai, first we have the wrong way to use healing magic, which if you've ever played any MMORPG, it's pretty much the ideal fantasy for every healer out there. An average student gets isekai'd into a new world, realizes he has an affinity for the extremely rare healing magic, then starts using that magic for offense instead of support. Pretty much like every Lux main in League of Legends. But rather than get flamed out of the party for being an idiot, everyone instead just stares in terror at how OP this character has turned himself with healing magic alone. It's a comedic isekai that focuses on the dynamic between the main character and the crazy sensei teaching him how to use his healing magic. One that's slated for release in 2024. Next we have I Shall Survive Using Potions, an isekai from Studio Mappa, which if you're one of the more cultured, you'll know what they're known for. They've slowly been branching out, but with their past anime not being very successful, I can't imagine that this one will be very much different. Either way, the story for this isekai focuses on potions, or at least the main character's ability to make potions. An office worker dies and is reincarnated, then when asked by God for what she wants, is given the ability to make any potion she wants. The thing about this new world though is that, unlike the norm, there isn't really magic here. So with her potions being the closest thing to magic, that makes her the target of people seeking power. Making this a slightly intriguing plot since the element that makes her OP isn't just something that's used to flex on everyone. It's instead the driving factor of a lot of the core story elements. Now, another isekai that looks, well, average is Studio Mother's adaptation of the light novel Tensei Kizoku, reincarnated as an aristocrat with an appraisal skill. It's just like all the other isekai, except the key aspect making the protagonist unique is his appraisal skill, an ability that lets him determine someone's current strength as well as the amount of potential they hold. So, by using this skill to recruit a very powerful cast of characters, this protagonist who's not very strong on his own will create what's pretty much the Avengers to prepare for war against the territories surrounding him, kinda like how it was in the realist hero isekai. It probably won't be as good, but if you like weak characters creating strong teams, then you'll probably want to watch this isekai when it comes out in 2024. An isekai with a bit more promise is Platinum Vision's upcoming adaptation for the light novel I'm in Love with the Villainess. Your classic premise with a girl ending up in her favorite otome game, except rather than pursue any of the male love interests, she instead decides to go for the villainess. It's her favorite character from when she played the game, who also just happens to be the main antagonist. So, as she teases her supposed love rival with numerous advances, it's their developing relationship and the comedic reaction to those things that really make this series so enjoyable. It's a proper parody on when dating sims give you completely uninteresting love interests to choose from. That and a Yuri which actually does Yuri well. Now, the 5th isekai we've gotten a preview for is Studio Mappa's adaptation of The Weakest Tamer Began a Journey to Pick Up Trash. The first anime from a studio whose only other work you'll recognize is the Cyberpunk 2077 music video. So, if that's any indication on what the quality for this anime might be, then I think we'll all be pleasantly surprised. As for the story, well, it's actually a surprisingly different take on isekai. You see, rather than have a protagonist who's weak with one very overpowered skill, Weakest Tamer does the opposite. She does only have that single skill of taming, but the only monster she can tame is this basic slime. So it's not her and this slime wreaking havoc with OP abilities, but instead the two doing all they can to survive in this world that shunned her. It's a pure survival fantasy that has this unlikely duo picking up whatever trash they can find in order to live. Thus the reason it's titled the way it is. Moving on to a slime who actually is overpowered, it looks like Rimuru will be returning in a 3-part OVA this year. A brand new installment into the Tensura series that, just like the movie, was written by Fuse himself. With the timeline being between Season 1 and Season 2, unfortunately we won't get to see any of Demon Lord Rimuru, but based on the visual it looks like we'll be getting the Kunoichi version of him. Before we get to that though, you should first know that the OVA is called Coleus's Dream, a title that refers to its setting in the Kingdom of Coleus. It's never been mentioned before in the anime, but its location is actually quite significant within the story. You see, as the only kingdom standing between the Western nations and the Desert of Death, Coleus serves as the defensive barrier preventing monsters from crossing that border. It's a city filled to the brim with adventurers as the economy is supported solely by the monsters being hunted there. Where we jump in during Coleus's dream then is with a classic story of succession in which two princes are vying for the open spot their father left behind. One being the first prince who is backed by nobility, and the other the second prince backed by the just turned rogue Free Guild. So, with Rimuru being given a mission to investigate this power struggle by Yuki, he takes on the identity we see in the visual and starts to uncover this secret plot within the kingdom. Something I'm sure relates to Luminous and that other pink-haired person. There isn't much else to say other than that, but I'm hoping this 3-part series will turn out to be a bit better than the movie. Or at the very least a bit more relevant since Scarlet Bond wasn't really all that important. Either way, I'm always happy to be getting more Tensura. We probably won't get to see Rimuru at full power, but maybe we'll get to see another demon lord like Luminous in action. That for sure is something I'd be eager to watch. It'll be a nice bit of filler for before Season 3 is released in 2024. Now, it was only a couple of days ago that Studio Mappa hosted their annual stage show, an 8-hour event featuring announcements and panels for every anime they're currently working on. Unfortunately, there wasn't much for Hell's Paradise or Chainsaw Man, but for the others we did get a few visuals, a trailer, and even a cooking show. Focusing on only the anime stuff though, the first was what could very well be the final visual for Attack on Titan ever. A serene yet ominous look into what's to come for the very last for sure final part of Part 3 of the final season of the anime. Following that up was a new trailer showcasing a lot of what's been happening in Vinland Saga, then a proper trailer for the highly anticipated second season of Jujutsu Kaisen. Personally, I wasn't too into this arc when I read it in the manga, but after seeing just how epic Mappa has made it look, I can confidently say that we're going to be in for a treat with this, especially if you're a fan of Gojo or characters who are almost as strong as him. The whole thing is going to be a solid 2 arcs of clean animation. Now, one of the bigger announcements from the event was the reveal of Mappa's new original anime, Buchigiri, a story of 2 reunited friends who find themselves caught in the middle of a supernatural power struggle. There's not much else we know about the plot, but with the series having the same director as Banana Fish, Free, and Skate the Infinity, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bit of yaoi thrown in there. The last thing worth mentioning was a new teaser and visual for Mari Okada's movie Alicent Tadise's Illusion Factory, an original feature revealed over a year ago yet has had very little updates since. Ever since that first trailer though, this has definitely been one of the movies I'm most looking forward to. Not only because Mari Okada is very skilled at making emotional anime, but also because every frame of this is just pure eye candy. It's definitely going to be one of Mappa's bigger projects when it releases in September. In terms of other anime that look interesting, we have a couple sequels in the form of Arknights and Bunny Senpai. I'm not too familiar with the Arknights lore, but I have read that the arc this season is based off of is one of the best. So even if the first season wasn't quite your cup of tea, if you're even a little bit interested in this dystopian fantasy, there's apparently a really good story to be found here. As for the new Bunny Senpai, it's another movie that will serve to wrap up the story for Sakata's sister. That probably doesn't mean much for those who haven't watched the anime, but if you're familiar with Kaede's story, then I'm sure you're well aware of the emotional rollercoaster just waiting to happen. It's definitely another movie I'm extremely excited for. Now, with regards to new visuals and announcements, in terms of sequels, we have Faraway Paladin returning in the fall, then Banished from the Hero Party coming likely next year. Adult Swim announced they were creating their own Rick and Morty anime, while Toei will be creating an original anime called Girls Band Cry. As for adaptations, we'll be getting ones for Tying the Knot with an Amagami Sister, The Foolish Angel Dances with Demons, The Do-Over Damsel Conquers the Dragon Emperor, The Four Brothers of Yuzuki, then lastly, My New Boss is Goofy. Alongside Quintessential Quintuplets getting a TV special later this year, so too is Dropkick My Devil. Then tomorrow we'll finally be getting our first look at the new anime by Studio Trigger, an adaptation of the manga Dungeon Meshi. Then, aside from a new Bartender anime in 2024, we'll also be getting a Creed anime by TMS Entertainment. And that's pretty much all the news lately. So, if you enjoyed getting caught up on the world of anime, then feel free to leave a like or subscribe to the channel. Also, let me know down below which anime you're looking forward to the most. But anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this type of anime content, then you already know what to do. So, until next time, ciao!